everyone, James, Fit RV. We're continuing on with the forehead headliner project. In the last video, I removed the headliner. That was a beast, but I got it done. This video, we're going to be installing some FatMat, installing some insulation, and hopefully, fingers crossed, putting it all back together. My goal for today is just to do the FatMat. And this could, I say FatMat, it could be Dynamat, it could be, you know, Hush Mat, whatever. This is just what I have. So it's a mass-loaded vinyl sort of sound dampener thing. You put it on the panels of the van, and it definitely reduces the noise when you're driving around. It's pretty easy to do. You just cut it with a little razor knife. I have one here. And then lay it up there and roll it in. Now, what I've found from doing this previously is that you might think it would be great to put one big giant piece and cover that whole forehead in. That would be a disaster because this stuff would start to stick to itself. You would get it everywhere. You'd wind up sticky. You'd cut yourself. It works better to cut in smaller sections. So that's what I'm going to do. So from here on out, it's just a whole lot of measuring and cutting. So let's get to it. Yeah. 16.5 by 20. The paper is tougher than the FatMat. Ow. Okay. No, it's getting sticky. It's that hot metal. Okay, I have a little air bubble here. So what I need to do is get a knife and cut it, and then it'll go flat. So I'll do that in a sec. All right, one piece down, 700 to go. And I understand, I saw a tiger, and the tiger saw a man. All right, maybe like that. Looks good. Another one, 7.5 by 11.5. So there's two matching pieces on opposite sides of the van that are both triangular. They're both the same size, they're just mirror images. So I think if I do this, let's find out. Look at that, it fits. That's awesome. I'm just gonna see if I can remove the paper in here. Okay, well, I'm kind of done with the FatMat, so I'm going to call it a day here. Weirdly, like, this is all the FatMat I had left. I had a big roll, and this is the only little bit I had left, so someone's looking out for me, or I'm just really lucky. Okay, let me show you what I did. I've kind of covered almost the entire roof area. I tried to stay away from places where there might need to be service in the future. So like these marker lights, I tried to stay away from those, and the antennas and stuff like that. But otherwise, I tried to get kind of full coverage on here. This square is some sort, it's like a FatMat kind of material that was on here from the factory. So now the whole roof, that's all you get. It doesn't sound so tinny anymore. In some places you can, you know, it's like overlap. There's 2 layers. That's not going to hurt anything. Anyway, but I got as much as I could, even in the little side holes. So we're going to stop there. Next step is going to be adding insulation. So that'll be fun and messy. Okay, it's day 2. We're going to start with some insulation today. I'm going to start with the easy stuff. I'm going to fill in some of these voids here. And I'm even going to try to fill in like these columns. These, I don't know, they're like studs or giant tubes of metal there in the wall. Try to fill in some stuff in there too, and then I'll worry about the hard part, like how much room do I have without interfering with anything. But we'll get the easy stuff first, so let's go. Okay, so if you need to cut this Rockwool insulation, I have like this knife that I use for insulation, and it cuts things pretty well, but it's not very deep, you know. And some of this I'm going to need to cut, I think, lengthwise. So you can also cut it with like a bread knife. And this, believe it or not, this is an actual Ginsu knife. So if you need to cut this stuff, go back to the 70s, find a TV infomercial, and order a Ginsu knife. I don't know how I have one of these. It's got to be like 40 years old. But it also cuts this stuff like butter. So, all right, 22 by 12. Right there. In Japan, the hand can be used like a knife. Let's see if this fits. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, happy day. Could have put a little more in there. So it occurred to me that before I went shoving a bunch of insulation in there, I should make sure there's nothing in there that I might need to get to. So I'm looking, and all I can see, I don't know if you can see that. I can see on this one there's this this wire loomed cable, and then other than that, nothing but the backs of a bunch of fasteners. So there's nothing critical, no working component in there. I can see all the way down to the floor. So yeah, I'm gonna say it's safe to stuff stuff in here. Stuff. All right, whatever. Okay, so I've got the sides, I got the insulation all tucked into those cavities and whatever. That's great. Now there are 2 ways I could go about applying the insulation here. I could either spray adhesive all over the roof and stick insulation up there, very, very messy, or I can do this in the driveway and stick insulation to the back side of this. But I need to know how much insulation I can put. So I'm going to kind of temporarily put this thing back up in there so I can see if I've got like 1 inch here, 2 inches here. You would think I could use these foam blocks as sort of a gauge, but we'll see. All right. All right, so up at the front edge here, I've got over 2 inches of space at the front edge, which is like 1 inch more than these. Well, I got like 2 wow, at least 2 1/4, which is like 1 inch more than these blocks. So that's up that end. 1.5 inches. All right, 1.5 inches at the top, 2 1/4 at the far end. All right, so I do the rest of this in the shop. Okay, so this is kind of what I got. I actually got like halfway to building a jig to run this stuff through my bandsaw to get this taper cut on it, because remember, it's thicker here than it is over here. But I didn't, because eventually I realized this is too tall for my bandsaw. Anyway, I've cut this just with the Ginsu, and you can see these pieces kind of, well, this one's compressed a bit, but they taper from the one end to the other, and then I've cut out notches here. And I'm just going to make pieces to cover this. I'm going to go outside and use some, what do you call it, spray adhesive, coat the back of this thing with the spray adhesive and then stick these things on. So that's what we're doing now. I just got a couple more little pieces on the sides and we're good. That's tacky. All right, well, that's like a it's like a contact adhesive that's basically done. So now I got to think about putting it back in there. All right. Well, what do you know? It's gonna work. Okay. Come on, come on. You can do it. There you go. Come on. All right, all right. There, one. I'd like to say there was a trick to doing this, but it's just a lot of swearing is the trick. Lots of swearing. I can tuck that in. Ah! Ah! Okay, okay. Everybody come on. Everybody just slide on in. You can do it. You can do it. Yes. 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 All right. Yes. I gotta get these things in. All right, they're in. So I got it back in there, and I wish there was some trick I could tell you besides just swearing. And I didn't bleed, but I got this really cool blood blister thing. So I don't know if that, I guess that makes it a project. It's not a project until you bleed. So now I'm putting these plastic nuts back in, and then we'll work on this bit down here. Yeah, I'm working my way through the screws. Reinstalling this thing. Oh, windy. My camera woman is sexy. I don't know why these foam blocks need to be there, because they look all like they're like broken, but they were there, so I'll put them back. There. There you go. Ha! It worked. connectors. Okay. All right, new day, new stuff going on. So what I'm going to do now is, rather than these butt connectors, which would cause me to have to hold this thing up while I crimp the connectors, I'm just going to put some disconnects on here. So I'm going to put the, and the wires are different sizes anyway, so I kind of like that. So I'm going to put the males on here and then the females on that part in the garage. And I'm going to cut it back. I probably should have cut it closer to that, but I'm going to cut it back to here so that I have one less connection to worry about. All right. That's good. Remember, with Winnebago, yellow is hot. So. All right, low power, high power, low power, off, high power. Okay, it works. Cool. Okay. Oh, there's that sticky stuff again. Crap. Okay. Part of my problem, getting this back in, if you can see here, there are screw holes here. So when I put up that other cabinet, which I did, I apparently screwed through part of this. And so now there's a screw there, and so I can't slide the piece in. So since this is already kind of horked up, I'm just going to make a little trim there, and then it should slide all the way in. I'll put some duct tape over it or something. I'm never going to see it. So it should be okay. Not ideal. I'm not really a duct tape kind of guy. Actually, this is gaff tape, which is like way better than duct tape. There. That should actually slide into place now. There we go. This. There we go. That's better. And that is pretty much going to finish it. So I have exactly 2 items left in my parts tray, but I know where they're both from, so it's not a big deal. This screw came from this pain in the butt piece of track. It originally had 4 screws in it. I put it back in with 3, but it's fine. And then this is an extra Christmas tree fastener. When I removed everything, there were a couple of these that were in like dead holes that weren't going anywhere. They weren't holding anything in. So I removed those and I used them when I was putting everything back up. And so, because I had broke one of the fasteners, so I had 2 extra ones and I used those in the putting things back up process. And I only broke one, so I have 1 extra. So not too bad. All I got to do now is clean up and maybe we'll go for a drive, see how it sounds. All right, well, we're on the highway, 60 miles an hour. I really don't I don't detect that much difference, honestly, in the sound with the insulation up there. Lance was always pretty quiet, and most of that sound would have been coming through 2 layers of stuff anyway. Still, we have extreme temps to deal with, so I'm glad I got it. Most of the noise, wind noise, is coming from like right around these mirrors. I don't know what to do about that, but anyway. So, oh, and the other good news is that nothing is shaken loose. All right, I guess back home. Okay, well, there we have it. I guess I'm done. I can't really say that it did a lot for the sound, but again, that's not the main reason I was doing it. The main reason I was doing it is to help with the extreme temperatures, particularly in the summer. So I guess we'll wait until the summer and see if I think it was worth the effort. But it's done now. Anyway, that's going to do it. It's James from FitRV. See you later.